As the education reforms continue to polarize public opinion, representatives of the Grade 6 Parents Union called on the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa. During the discussion yesterday, parents called on the opposition leader's support for the immediate implementation of education reforms, which were postponed to 2027. Several SJB representatives joined the meeting.
ඔබතුමාගේ මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ ආණ්ඩුවට බලපෑමක් කරලා දරුවන්ට මේ හම්බෙන්න තියෙන අවස්ථාව උදා කරලා දෙන්න.
ඉස්සල්ලා හිතලා බලන්න මේ විපක්ෂයකට පුළුවන් ද ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ නතර කරන්න?
Consider this. Can an opposition stop reforms from being implemented? I will hand over a copy of a social media post shared by President Anurakumara Dissanayaka. Read it. According to this post, the Grade 6 education reforms have been postponed to 2027 in order to avoid issues in module compilation, delays in training and technical errors. We are not tied to its postponement whatsoever. The opposition leader does not generate these posts for the president. We pointed out the blunder they had made by including an inappropriate website in these modules. We did not urge the suspension of the reforms. I am not against reforms being implemented. However, reforms must be implemented with the right resources in place. They should have initiated efforts to provide computers and smart boards wherever necessary. Had they introduced a supplementary estimate for this purpose in July 2025, rather than spending money on printing faulty textbooks, we would have voted in favour. In order to cover up obscenity published in these modules, they announced that we are against reforms.
Meanwhile, a group of parents and teachers engaged in a protest in Navalapitiya today, calling for the immediate implementation of Grade 6 education reforms. The Satyagraha launched by the Teachers and Parents Collective of Galle continued for a fifth consecutive day today, demanding the immediate implementation of Grade 6 learning modules. The Satyagraha was called off subsequently after Deputy Minister Nalin Hevage promised to implement the reforms in question. Meanwhile, a seminar on education reforms was held at the National Library Auditorium in Colombo.
There is only one difference between the current education reforms and the reforms which were proposed by former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was ousted from power. At the end of the list of the previous regime's reforms, which is exactly the same as the current reforms, it is stated that the implementation process would begin following the assessment of outcomes of a pilot project which would be launched in 120 selected schools. This government has taken out this single sentence. They have decided to implement these reforms at once without any prior testing, pilot projects and assessments, affecting 4.1 million students directly. Ranil Wickremesinghe assumed office after Gotabaya Rajapaksa was ousted. In September 2023, Ranil Wickremesinghe introduced a national education policy framework. What the government seeks to implement now is outlined in the structural changes to the school system section of this national education policy framework. The Asian Development Bank noted that the remaining $200 million would not be disbursed if reforms are not implemented by January of 2026. Learning modules have only been formulated for the first term of Grade 6. They have only printed some of the books for the first term. They did so because the Asian Development Bank would not disburse funds if reforms were not implemented by the 5th. They are not focused on creating better opportunities for children. They are focused on collecting ADB funds in order to hike reserves so they can boast about it. There are just 3 periods allocated for mathematics for Grade 6 students. This is why we informed the Prime Minister to debate this matter with us. We have questions to ask, especially on the execution of her duties.